Hello everyone. Last week we looked at osmoregulation, and at the end of the video I left you with a question, and the question was, what effect do alcohol and coffee have on urine production? And there was a little bit of information underneath the question that said alcohol and coffee are known as diuretics. They inhibit ADH production. Explain how drinking alcohol or coffee would affect the urine production of someone who'd been drinking. So, if they inhibit ADH production, we need to think, what does ADH actually do? So, let's look at the collecting duct. This is where osmoregulation occurs. So there's your collecting duct. You've got your filtrate coming into the collecting duct. It comes from the distal convoluted tubule. So this is your filtrate. Now, ADH is normally produced by the hypothalamus, stored and released then by the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. Now, what happens is that ADH travels through the blood and it reaches the kidney, and there it acts on the collecting duct. So ADH causes aquaporins to open up in the collecting duct, and so ADH causes aquaporins, and this is all in the collecting duct, to open, which means that the collecting duct becomes more permeable to water. So if water moves out of there, where's it going to go? Well, it should be reabsorbed by the blood vessels that are right beside there. So water moves out from there into the fluid by osmosis. Then water will then enter the blood and become reabsorbed. So more water reabsorbed into the blood. What does that mean about your filtrate? Well, it means if more water has left it, that means there's going to be less volume of filtrate. And if there's less water in it, but still the same amount of urea and other salts there, it's going to become more concentrated. Now, that's what ADH does. We've just said alcohol and coffee inhibit ADH production. So how would drinking alcohol or coffee affect urine production? So in your answer, you had to say, well, you had to basically repeat the fact that alcohol or coffee will inhibit ADH production. What does that mean? That means there's less ADH. So over on the left-hand side, I'm going to write down what you should have had, the points you should have had in your answer. So there's less ADH released into the blood. That means that there's less aquaporins open. Which means that the collecting duct becomes less permeable to water. So less water leaves the collecting duct and becomes reabsorbed into the blood. So that leaves most of the water behind in the filtrate. So it means that you're producing a larger volume of urine than normal. And because there's so much water left behind in it, it's going to be more dilute. Okay, so in terms of what I was looking for in your answers, the points, there's less ADH released into the blood, less aquaporins open. That's not really in your textbook, this term here, but we did talk about it. So if you wrote about the aquaporins, you got a mark, or if you said the collecting duct becomes less permeable. So that really, either of those will give you 1 mark. Therefore, less water leaves it, less water is reabsorbed into the blood. So there's more water left, that gives you a larger volume of urine and it's more dilute. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. So I'm not sure why the Google Classroom didn't work. It didn't give me the names of the along with the answers. So I just got all the answers, and what I've done is I've put them all together one after the other in a Google Doc. You can have a look at it. Each answer is date and time stamped. So just above each answer, there'll be the date when you submitted it and the times. That might trigger your memory, but hopefully you'll recognise your answer and you can then work out how many marks I've given you. You will see, I'm not trying to embarrass anybody because there's no names beside these ones, but there's 1 or 2 people look as if they've, done a little bit of research, looked it up, but they've maybe just cut and pasted a few answers, maybe off the internet or out of a book somewhere. And some of those people haven't got that many marks because your answer has to be relevant to what you've learnt. And it was really thinking back, okay, there's less ADH, so what do I know will happen as a result of that? What happens if there's less ADH? Well, this, and therefore this, and therefore this, and therefore this. So the answer to the question, what effect do alcohol and coffee have on urine production? Larger volume of urine and it's more dilute, but there were 5 marks for it, so you need to go through step by step how that comes about. And as you can see, there were quite a lot of people who weren't hitting those points there in their answer. 1 person had all the points in their answer, but they talked about the water potential becoming less, or maybe it was the soil potential becoming less, can't remember, but that's actually wrong. The more water that's in it, the closer to 0, closer to pure water it becomes, and so actually the water potential and the solute potential will actually rise closer to 0. And so although you had the 5 points there, you wrote something that was clearly wrong, and so you didn't get the full marks. But generally on the whole, most people made a good attempt. And as you can see from the answers, some people are very good at writing concisely and able to get those points in a few lines, and that's a good skill to have. So well done if you got 5 points and you managed to do it in a short space. Okay, thank you very much.